Hi, Owls! Today, we wanted to talk about how we both ended up here at Temple. We're going to share what research we did before we chose Temple and what factors led us to our decision. We're going to share some facts and information that might be helpful for you prospective students. Let's get started. Yeah, probably.
For our first topic, we're going to be talking about how we decided what was important for us when choosing Temple. So for me personally, I always wanted to go to a bigger school. I wanted that big sports life culture. I wanted the name of the school to be big. Yeah, I just kind of really idolized schools like LSU or Duke, and I wanted to go to school where I could have that big name and that culture, but also being able to experience that majorly for free and have fun doing it. Just in terms of media majors, Temple had so much to offer. Klein is a really big school with a lot of programs and so many niches, so I felt really comfortable applying to the school because I felt that even if I came for originally advertising and I found out, hey, that's not for me, and I still wanted to work in media, I had so many other routes that I could go, and now I'm able to double major and do advertising and media science and production, which is really helpful, and I learn a lot.
So I'm also an MSP student, and one of the big things I looked for was a school with a big media program, but not something too big where I wouldn't even be able to get involved. And I knew that Temple had so many great options for even just smaller clubs that I could go in and I can get a little bit of experience with names that are still big at a D1 school. Something that was super helpful is that Temple has so many different websites and links to different places where I could look up basically any information I wanted to know about Temple and I would find an answer somewhere. I would just Google things about Temple, but also other schools that I was interested in, and I would compare all the different key points that I wanted, and eventually I landed on Temple.
So I also did a lot of Googling, and because I did so much Googling, I created a 6-page spreadsheet with everything that I found important to know about Temple. The two things I think I used a lot during my research was niche and especially the Temple website. There's so much information about the school on the Temple website in general. And for niche, if you don't know what that is, it's basically a website that grades colleges all over the country. And they kind of use actual student grading systems, so you can actually put in your own input for each school. And I felt like Temple ranked pretty high compared to the other schools I was looking at in the terms of things that I wanted. I mean, the overall grade I wasn't really that focused on. I was kind of just more focused on the specific things that I found important, which was campus dining, dorming, professors, which are just some of the topics that niche will go over with the grading process. So I think for both of us, we kind of really prioritize actually coming to the school. Me personally, I knew that if I hadn't visited school, I was definitely not gonna go. So I visited Temple, I think twice before I committed, for the initial visit and also for the acceptance students day. For my initial visit, I do remember it being so hot and I was just absolutely miserable. So I was really happy to go again for acceptance students day because it was kind of more chill and I was actually able to walk around the campus by myself and get a feel for it. And I think that's what I really felt resonating with the school. I think it was such an important feeling for me to actually feel like I could see myself at a school I visited, and Temple was the only school that I felt at that way.
I definitely agree with a lot of what Jessica said. I knew that I needed to come on the campus and just be able to walk around, see how close or how far everything was from each other, and just see if it would be something that I would enjoy. Since I didn't really grow up in a city, so I wanted to see if the city area would be something that I was comfortable in. It also helped me a lot deciding my major. I wasn't exactly sure on where I wanted to go, so being able to come to different professors and students in these majors really just solidified Temple for me, and it helped me make my final decision.
So going to a diverse school was really important for me. I think it was the top of my priority list. I grew up originally in a really diverse town with a lot of cultures. And when I moved to middle school, I kind of had a complete 180 of that. So when I was going into college, I really wanted to make sure that I could find somewhere where I could feel the most comfortable and Temple was exactly that. I think I really relied on TikTok and Temple's own social media pages to kind of get a feel of what it was like and what the diversity actually looked like. When I was originally looking at the school statistics in terms of student population, I was seeing a really low Black student population, and that was kind of nerve-wracking. But once I actually came, especially for my initial visit, accepted students day, I was like, oh, it's actually kind of really diverse here. And then when I actually stepped onto campus and started coming here, I did see that there was such a large Black student population, and I felt so much better about my decision to actually commit to Temple. I think also on top of that, Temple does really great with trying to promote diversity. I mean, there's so many clubs and organizations that you can join for, I think, every ethnic group almost possible. Yeah. I mean, when I came here, I already was going to meetings for the Black Student Union, for SOCA, which is the Caribbean Society, and also for Haitian students as well. So I think having all of those was really helpful in helping me find a community that I resonated with here.
So I grew up in a really small suburban town, almost bordering on rural. There is farm life everywhere. And I knew that I didn't really want to stay in that for college, and I wanted to go to a big city where I had a lot of opportunities. So for me, city life was so important in making my college decision. So when I was doing my research, I looked up exactly where Temple's campus was, and I kind of just zoomed out and looked at all the surrounding areas. I looked at how close I was to Center City, Old City, NRG Sports Complex, and I figured out how close I really was to everything. So when I was researching the spots that were important to me, the fact that the farthest one away was only about a 20-minute train ride, that being the NRG Sports Complex, it really just solidified my decision, knowing that I was so close to so much and I had such easy access to it with things like SEPTA. Because I didn't really grow up in an area with a lot of public transportation, I did have to do some research on SEPTA before I came here, but just Googling things and looking at the SEPTA app was definitely really helpful in me finding out how easy I can get from here to there. Also, being in the city, I wanted to make sure that I had access to a lot of job opportunities post-college. So here in Philly, there's things like all the sports teams and Comcast and things like that. So I knew that I would really have a good shot of being able to maybe get into those jobs after college going to Temple.
I mentioned it briefly earlier, but sports was really big for me. I really wanted to go to a D1 school, and in my 6-page spreadsheet, I had every school's top sport, the school colors, and I had their mascot, name and what the animal or person was, because that's how important I wanted to show pride for each school. I wanted to go somewhere where I could get that really great fan culture that I grew up surrounded by. At football games, there's so much alumni that pull up, the two kings that always come to the games. But also, I want to work in sports eventually. So being able to go to a D1 school and starting at that level has so much opportunity, especially in such a sports-dominated city. And taking that into student life, I think Kayla did a really great job in her video, kind of going over all the clubs and organizations, so you guys should definitely go watch that. I tried to go to as much events as possible and engaging with students. I think often it's really overwhelming to be a student here and seeing how much our population is, making friends. So it's all about just going out and trying your best, putting your best foot forward.
So one thing that I was really confused about when coming to Temple was how exactly meal plan and dining worked. So I did so much research on it because I wanted to make sure I could come here and effectively use my meal plan. So based on just how much I knew that I would probably eat in my dorm versus how much I was gonna go out and get actual meals, I chose 12 meals a week, and that was just something that I had to sit down and decide through, and the Temple websites definitely helped so much with explaining that. So I also found out that some of the restaurants on campus took a meal swipe. I didn't really understand that at first. I thought they were just kind of here and you would have to pay for it yourself, but there are certain restaurants that are on a meal swipe. For example, something like Chick-fil-A, you can go and you can use a meal swipe there, and one meal swipe is about $12. So you can order whatever you want if it's under $12, and you can use one meal swipe, or if you do go over $12 and get more food, you can just use 2 meal swipes. For the dining hall though, it just takes one meal swipe to get in, and you have access to so much food there. They have pizza, pasta, they have different meals every single day, and you can even go on their website to see what food they're serving that day. So you can also use Grubhub to order your food ahead of time if you don't want to go and order in person. And it's the same thing, you can just use your meal swipes right on Grubhub and place an order ahead. Also, students get free Grubhub Plus. So if you order something that's like off campus and get it delivered to you, you usually get like your delivery fees waived or even like $1 or $2 off. And that's all just because of going to Temple and getting Grubhub Plus.
So when I was coming to Temple, I applied as an advertising major. And at that time, I wasn't 100% sure if I was going to keep that. So I always wanted to go to MSP. Whether I wanted to add that as a double was something that I decided when I was actually on campus with the help of my academic advisor. Just talking more about how I was able to even just plan out my classes, which was honestly needed for doing a double major because the course loads are so different but also similar in a way. I mentioned before using the Temple Bulletin, but even just sitting down with my advisor every few months and going over my schedule was really helpful. I think also we have a Flying 4 program,
yes,
which is really helpful, and even just being able to speak to my advisor who understands hey, we want to get you out of here in 4 years. So they're very realistic and they're also really great at communicating. I've never had problems scheduling something with an advisor or even for drop-ins. So yeah, it's a really easy school. I don't know if that's just a Klein thing, so go Klein, but but it's super great and it's a really easy process.
So for me, coming into Temple, I knew I wanted to do something related to media, but I wasn't exactly sure the specifics. Did I want to do journalism? Did I want to do communications, MSP? I wasn't sure. So what I did was on the Temple website, you can look up what your majors are, and it gives you a little bit of a description about it, and it also kind of gives you a little bit of people in this major often have this job or this job, and really being able to read those and look at some courses that I would be taking in those majors was super helpful for me in locking down exactly what I wanted to major in, which is MSP. And yeah, it was just really great being able to actually have a comparison of what everything was, because journalism and MSP can be very similar, but they do have their differences. I also knew that it was very common for people in my major to be able to get internships or job experiences right out of graduating Temple. So that was something that really stuck with me. I knew that I would not be guaranteed a job out of graduating, but be very likely to have one coming to this school with this major. And it's also so easy to get opportunities here. Within my second week of school freshman year, I was going on a Klein Go day trip to Citizens Bank Park, and I got to network. Literally my second week of school, I was already networking with some really big names for the Philadelphia Phillies. And so yeah, there are just so many opportunities that I was noticing when I was researching that really, again, stuck the landing for me. So for me, I wasn't exactly sure where I wanted to live. Since everything's kind of so close together, there was no oh, this dorm is really far away or this dorm is really close. So I kind of just picked purely based on the vibes. I ended up picking 1300 for my dorm. I really liked that it was surrounded by 2 other dorms, Morgan and Temple Towers. So I still had access to a lot of students around me. I wasn't really isolated. It was also pretty close to the student center and the food court at Morgan. So even though I wasn't really close to the dining hall, I still had access to some stuff on the meal plan. I also liked that it was a more modern new building. I never really had any issues with my dorm, which I really appreciated. And yeah, it was just something that, you had to sit down and look at all the options and the pricing and everything. And for me, I just picked 1300 and it worked out really well.
Okay, so for me personally, I only visited 2 dorms during acceptance students and orientation, which was 1940s and J&H. I thought I was gonna end up in 1940s, but just with the way things were working, there was no more rooms left in 1940s. So I ended up going to 1300s, and I honestly enjoyed my time there a lot. So when I had committed to Temple, I actually used one of those new student pages that everybody posts on to try and find roommates. And I did find a roommate, and we were supposed to end up in a double together, but it ended up not working out, and I ended up in a quad in 1300s, which was really great. I got super lucky with my random roommates just because we're all really great friends now. Temple has so many different ways the rooms are formatted, especially across all its dorms, and there's a really great way to be able to not only see every dorm but also see what your dorm setup is like. I really relied on this, especially going into my dorm. I wanted to see like how things were set up, and once I got there, I think 1300 especially was like really spacious, and I was shocked by that. I mean, I was on the first floor, so we had really tall ceilings, but I didn't feel like clustered or anything. I honestly felt like we had a lot of room. I was a freshman at 1300s, and now I'm at Temple Towers. I'm going to be posting a dorm vlog soon, so watch out for that one. But honestly, just in general, Temple has really great housing options. I don't think there's a single dorm that's like the worst dorm ever. They're all pretty good, pretty new, and they are constantly updated. There's not much problems with any of them. I have like 0 complaints, I would say.
Also, if dorming is not something you are interested in, freshmen are not required to dorm. There are a few like apartment style buildings that are on campus or like basically right off campus. There's the View, Vantage, which are basically literally right on campus. And then University Village, Cardin, and the Nest are all just like maybe a 2-3 minute walk off campus, but they do offer a lot of housing for students that you could also do some research on. It's just, you just look up Temple apartments off campus. So if dorming is something that you are really not interested in, there are definitely still some other options here on campus, and they aren't directly through Temple, but they are like Temple approved and Temple safe. So they are definitely an option.
So with that, we're all done, but I hope you guys learned a lot from this video and are able to really make a great decision in picking Temple. Doing your own research is so important, and by using our videos and also Temple resources, I'm sure you'll be able to get a great look at what Temple is. So with that, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so that we can keep making more content for you and showing you what life is like at Temple.
Bye, owls!